Okay, so the first parameter we need to feed in is the image itself, which we've created up here with the name image. So let's just load that in first of all. Okay, so the next parameter we need to give it is the watermark file. So essentially what we're saying is put this on top of this. So we're saying put the watermark on top of this image. So they're the first two parameters, easy to remember. The next is obviously the position of the watermark. So that's x and y. Remember we created our x variable here and our y variable here, which is minus 10 pixels from the bottom and the right in the very corner. Now we need so this is the position of the watermark. The next is the destination source, which not the destination source, sorry, the x and y coordinate of the source point, which we don't need to worry about in this case. We can set that to 0. The reason being is that we're starting at 0, 0. In fact, earlier I said that 0 starts from here. Many apologies, it's from here. Okay, so we're sort of saying 0 minus 10 inwards type thing. Oh no, wait. I'm not actually sure where the coordinate parts start points. Anyway, so 0, 0 for this bottom corner, and we're going in 10. Okay, so the next is the watermark width and the watermark height. So this is very important, obviously. So watermark underscore width, which we determined earlier, and watermark underscore height, which we also determined earlier and put into these variables. Okay, so the last one is the opacity of the watermark. Now, like I said, I want this at a 20% opacity. The maximum or the minimum value is 0 for this, which would render it sort of invisible, and the maximum is 100. So I'm going to set this to 20, so it's going to give us a nice sort of fading image. Okay, so that's the image copy merge function all done. It's quite a handful with all the parameters we need to give into it, but now we should have achieved what we want. So the last function we need to supply is the image JPEG function, and what this is going to do is it's going to actually put the image onto the page. So remember earlier we changed our header file to image JPEG. Now what we need to do is actually process this image onto the page. So I'm just going to supply it with the image file there, which is what we supplied earlier, and we've copied our watermark onto this. So now hopefully when we supply a source file, this should work. Let's just create an error message at the end of here, just for purposes, our own purposes. No source supplied. So let's go into our browser and just go over to generate.php on its own, and we should have received no source supplied. Oh no, we haven't, obviously, because we've set out our content type. That's just me being a bit stupid. So okay, let's just come on to our generate.php file. Okay, now let's supply our source in. So I'm going to say source equals phone.jpg. So as soon as I do this, the phone.jpg file will be read in by this, the source will become phone.jpg, and the rest of our code should process. So fingers crossed that this is going to work. Okay, yeah, so it's worked. We have successfully merged with a 20% opacity our logo here onto our main image. So let's just fiddle around with this, and I'll explain. If I was to do 100 opacity, you can see that this has come and basically you can't see through it. So that's something that you could change. Another thing that you could change is, say, change these values. Let's go for minus 100, and we'll see that our watermark comes inwards more. So 10 is probably a good one. You could go as low as 2, I guess, or even 0 to have it on the very outside of the page. But 10, I just played around with it earlier, and I thought was a nice width away. Obviously you can change your watermark. You are not limited to PNG files, but I recommend you probably use these anyway. And just generally have a play around. I mean, you can specify different settings, things like that. We've already looked at what each function does and why we've given a variable a particular value, or why we've created specific things in specific places. So yeah, that's basically watermarking. Now what we want to do is this generate.php file exists solely as an image. So you obviously don't want to you know, do this to show this to your users or anything, but what you want to do is show this from an index file. Now we're going to do this, and then we're going to have a look at saving out our generated file as well, or generated image rather. So in the source I can type in generate.php, sorry. So we can create this PHP file inside this HTML element, the image element, as an image. So even though it's a PHP file, it now exists as an image, because obviously we've changed our header, our content type at the top. So now we can say source equals phone.jpg. So this is what you would do if you wanted to just display a watermarked image on the fly, if you like. Let's go over to index.php. You see how this is moved in now. We can grab it, we can copy it, we can paste it and things like that. However, this is useful in some instances, but if you were to say, let's give an example, you were allowing file uploads, and you were allowing users to upload JPEG images. What you might want to do somewhere in your upload process is run this generate.php file, and you might want to read in this source file, but then all you want to do is, you might not want to output it to the screen, you might want to save this JPEG or overwrite it. So what we essentially do is we create a new file with the merged things. We don't just want to output it to the user. So how do we go about around here saving our file rather than just displaying it out? Well, the solution is simple. We don't actually need to delete anything or create any new functions, but we can take advantage of additional parameters that this image JPEG function allows us. So let's just open and see what we've already got here. We've got logo.png and we've got phone.png. We don't have a combined version of the two. These two both correspond to their own in their own rights. The logo is the logo, the phone is the picture of the phone. However, if we just stick a comma in here and we specify where we want our file to be written to, and what we want to call the file, then we can create a new file from this. So let's think logically about this. If the name of the file was to be called source, at the moment it's called phone.jpg, we want to name it something similar, so source, but then we want to append on well, it's source.jpg. We could say dot watermarked.jpg, for example. So we'll now have phone.jpg.watermarked.jpg, or even underscore watermark.jpg, whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can call it the original file, and I think it'll overwrite itself anyway. So now let's have a look at what happens when we run our index.php. Oh, okay. Okay, maybe not. Let's just check inside our we don't want that. Let's just check inside here. Okay, yeah. So we've got phone.jpg.watermark.jpg. Let's have a look at that in our browser. So we go over to phone.jpg, which is the original, by the way, .watermarked.jpg. Okay, so yeah, it's saved it. It hasn't displayed it out to us, but this is obviously again a perfect example of why you might not want to display it to your user, but you might want to just watermark images as you upload them. So this is a great function to use if you were to be doing something like that. So, you know, uploading a file, or allowing your users to upload a file, you can automatically create a watermark on it, save it, and then reference back to the file name in whatever methods you choose. So this has basically been watermarking images with GD library inside PHP. Have a play around with it, see what you can do.